Let's talk about Linux gaming. Gaming is one of the biggest industries in the world right now. Currently, it's valued at $385 billion as of August 2023. Currently, are also over 3 billion people that are considered gamers around the world. That's a crazy amount of money and gamers as well. Gaming in the Linux space has been around for a while, but for a good chunk of Linux's history, the experience has either been non existent or just plain crap. I remember the first time I tried Linux back in 2018. Of course, I tried, playing some video games on it, and of course, it was crap. And I'm not talking about games that are coded specifically for Linux. I'm talking about games that are popular titles, that are on Xbox, PlayStation, on PC, and all that kind of good stuff. It just wasn't a positive experience. And I can say confidently though that is not the case anymore. One of the biggest gaming companies around, Valve, is at the forefront of Linux gaming these days. There are tons of contributors out there who contribute in so many different ways to Linux gaming, but Valve, but they are by far the biggest and most visible of all the different contributors to the Linux gaming out there. If you're not familiar with the name, you may also know them by the name Steam, which is their game client. They also produce games as well as have their hardware device, the Steam Deck, as well, that sold millions of units. So as of recently. So and because Steam is such a big part of the Linux gaming space, I wanted to talk about Steam gaming on this episode of Linux Sundays. So stick around. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell button for a notification. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, make sure to stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. But let's do this thing. All right, so I wanted to start off by saying that when I'm talking about Linux gaming today, I'm not going to be talking about Linux gaming as a whole because there's so much out there in Linux gaming space. Now, today, I'm just going to be talking about Linux gaming from the Steam perspective, or Valve perspective, if you will. Now, again, as of November 2023, multiple millions of Steam Decks have been sold according to Valve, which definitely is not as much as the Nintendo Switch, but still, millions of Linux devices that are out there that previously weren't. That's wild. You'd have told me this in 2018, 2019, I'd be like, I don't know about that. That seems a little ambitious, but um, it's definitely a thing now. As of December 2023, Linux users make up nearly 2%. The exact number is 1.97% of Steam gamers, with nearly 40% of those being the Steam Deck. Mac is only at 1.63%, and then the remaining is, of course, the different Windows iterations, including Windows 7 and Windows 8.1. And if you are one of those people on Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, let's update. Unless it's some kind of retro system, and things like that. And if that's the case, please stop connecting to the internet. That's just leaving yourself open for security vulnerabilities and stuff like that. So you have been warned. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. But let me go ahead and get us up to the articles here. The news site that we're going to be talking about today is going to be gamingonlinux.com. So the first article that we're going to be talking about here today is, as of January 2024, 75 of the top 100 most played games on Steam work on the Steam Deck. Now, Steam Deck it runs on Linux. It's an Arch it's built on Arch, and it uses, I think, the KDE desktop environment. Now, one thing that you may not know and that I found surprising is that the consoles themselves, actually, those systems are actually Linux systems that they're running on. So when I found that out, it really just blew my mind, because you're thinking like, well, why is it so hard to port to PC then? Well, because I'm sorry, a port to Linux. Well, these games are written for a very, very specific system with very, very, very specific hardware. When we're talking about Linux and hardware compatibility, we're talking about having to take into account millions of different hardware combinations, and that's a lot to take into account. So, that's part of the obstacle as well. And it's even though it's written similarly, there's just it's very, very, very specific purposes. It's, it's just like if you were to go and take the operating system off an industrial control system and try to put it on your desktop PC, it may not run because it literally may be tuned to just that CPU, just that RAM, and that's it. If you put anything else in there, it has no idea how to do that. And you might be asking, well, why would you do that? And it's for overhead. The smaller the kernel, the more responsive it's going to be. And also you don't want anything more, especially in industrial control systems. We're talking about things that handle power plants, water treatment facilities, and things like that. So the less complex, the better it's going to be. Especially especially in that space. So keep that in mind. And just look at this list of games. I was really surprised. Now, Counter Strike 2, which is the successor to CS:GO, this one is number one, I guess, because they listed it first. It doesn't really tell you like what order they're in, but that's definitely one of the big ones. Dota 2 is another big one. Baldur's Gate 3 is like just been one of the biggest games of 2000 and was one of the biggest games of 2023. So that supported Grand Theft Auto 5, Team Fortress 2, Apex Legends. We're looking at, of course, these are going to be different variabilities of playable, but we can see here it's just Grand Theft Auto, Team Fortress 2. These are playable, but it's giving kind of like a Proton DB, and Proton DB is a website which we'll go over here in just a few minutes that gives feedback on whether games are playable or not playable on Linux. And keep in mind that site does rely on user feedback to provide this information. So sometimes the game may work now, but it's been like 3 months since the last person posted anything. So we'll talk about that in a minute though. And then the War Thunder's on here, Monster Hunter World, Path Exile, Football Manager 2024, Warframe, Elden Ring. There's a ton out here, an absolute ton. So that's the first thing that I wanted to share with you as far as articles go. Now, the second one that I wanted to show here was the Steam Deck officially hits over 13,000 games playable and verified. Now, this is going to be based on the SteamDB database, which is slightly different than ProtonDB, and you're going to have a lot of overlap in between, what's playable on the Steam Deck and what's playable on a Linux desktop, laptop, or whatever. But there's a lot here, and if we just look at the numbers, 13,000 is just staggering. There's 4,300 that are verified. There's 8,700 that are playable, and then there's currently 3,700 that are unsupported. But just the fact that there is over 13,000 games that are in some state of playable is just mind-blowing, especially compared to what it used to be. It's just they're making a lot of progress, and I'm as a I'm not a huge gamer, but as a person who uses Linux on a daily basis, I'm very grateful for the work that they're doing, because the more people that are using Linux, the better. So but yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the two websites here. I'm actually going to flip these here. This right here is ProtonDB. This is a site I've been using for a little while, but it lets you know like different situate like different, tells you what's ready for Chromebook, what's Steam Deck verified games, and then total games on Proton, which currently recommended by at least 119,000. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and Deck verified, it shows you right here. It's got just other different stuff. How many they got on each one. There's 10 that are platinum, 60% are gold, 10% are silver, and then another 20% are borked. So, there's a lot of progress that still needs to be done, but this is a great tool. This is an absolute great tool. Here's some of the, I think we're Chromebook. I haven't used this site in a while. Yeah, so it's listing their Chromebook ready titles, but dashboard. Here we go. Top 10, personal library, top 100. I honestly don't use this a lot, but this is something that you can play it with, right? If you want to go ahead and actually get the titles that are supported and all that stuff. But I like to search by just the game, so let's just do Total War, because those are games that I actually do enjoy playing when I do. And it's going to give us quite a few different ones. See here, we've got Medieval 2 Definitive Edition, and I think now this is actually a title that has a native Linux version. So, but yeah, you can see here it's got platinum. So it's basically the highest rating it can. There we go. Yeah, see they're native. I don't know why it shows different than the other one, but yeah, you can see here, you've got folks just kind of giving feedback. I spent an hour and tried tutorial and tested the save and it all worked. Okay, you should know I am using Ubuntu 23.04 and the game works natively, no Proton. So you can see here how it gives some of their specs and distro, kernel, and all that good stuff. So there's it's great. It's really, really great. The way the site's set up, the information it provides, and all that stuff. So that is very much appreciated. And keep in mind, these are not just games that are going to, this site, they're not going to be games that are just dedicated to Steam. These are games that work across, so, you know, there's other ones like there's Wine, Lutris, and other stuff. I've honestly never messed with any of those just because I don't game enough to where I'm just like, I'd rather just have it easy through Steam. So that's how I do it. But let's go ahead and go over here to the database on Steam. Now this is SteamDB. So, you know, you look at this, you've just got, you know, so many players that are playing this now, you know, 24-hour peak, all that stuff. Here's all the trending games, you know, and it's very, very similar to the last website, but this is just going to be specifically more about Steam itself. So it's a great resource. Let's see here. You know what? Let's do it this way. Yeah, here we go. So here's like lists of like the games that are Steam Deck playable and Steam Deck verified. I think this one right here, the one I was previously showing, I think this is total for, I think this is all of the operating systems, but this is the one right here. Because you know, Steam DBs, you can check all sorts of information in regards to Steam, but like we're looking for specifically for Linux, and that's going to be this one right here. You know, it's got all these games right here. It gives you a rating, gives you a price. You know, and these are all the ones that are Steam Deck verified and Steam Deck playable. So one of the kind of drawbacks here is it doesn't really tell you which one it is. And if you wanted to add Linux, you could go ahead and do that, and it'll tell you all the ones right there. So pretty easy stuff. I'll make sure that all of this is linked down in the comment section down below. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, I wanted to show Steam some love. You know, because them and Valve are really doing great things for the Linux gaming community. You know, so I wanted to share that with you. And both of these articles are ones that came out like in like the last week. So, you know, let me see here. This one came out January 5th, and this one came out January 5th as well. So these are within like the last week, last few days actually. So lots of good stuff happening in the Linux gaming space on Steam. So yeah, go ahead and check out this other video that I have on the screen. Now, remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my videos, and have the greatest of days.